If you ask me, they're trying to do the unimaginable. Democrats push to eliminate the debt ceiling, allowing unlimited government borrowing. Democrats say that it is dangerous for Republicans to demand spending cuts as a condition of raising the borrowing limit. Dozens of House Democrats have proposed legislation that would eliminate the debt ceiling, which would allow the government to borrow without any limit set by Congress. The federal government hit the $31.381 trillion debt ceiling last week, and House Republicans are pushing for commitments to cut back on the record growth in federal spending before agreeing to allow more borrowing. But Democrats accuse Republicans of setting up the possibility of prohibiting a debt ceiling hike, which would make the government unable to fund all of its current obligations. Democrats say a better idea is to eliminate all limits on federal borrowing and allow the government to borrow whatever it needs. Weaponizing the debt ceiling and using it as a pawn in partisan budget negotiations is dangerous and repeatedly brings our nation to the brink of default, which would be disastrous to the U.S. economy, something we've witnessed as recently as 2011 when Republicans created a debt ceiling crisis that resulted in the first ever downgrade to the U.S. credit rating.
Why do you think I'm so against Democrats? They're out of their freaking minds. You just can't print money or fake money or fiat money into oblivion. But that's the liberal hive mind on YouTube. I encourage you to watch his channel. I love the guy. I don't know how he puts together like 2 or 3 videos a day. Hell, I'm lucky if I just get one, but I guess I have to watch and read so much material to just put together my daily watching the world burn video, which I think 200 of you now, actually, some of you actually watch these. So the first thing, I'm just going to go around the horn. The mainstream media seems to be imploding. I saw today, if you watch Dr. Steve Turley on YouTube, he quoted all the numbers. I didn't write them down, but man, a lot of the news agencies, especially CNN, are laying off a lot of people. Wall Street Journal was on the list, NBC. I guess that advocacy journalism that they do for the leftist cause or the Democrats is just not working for them as a business model. Imagine that. Then I got to another video. I always try to help you in whatever way I can. I was watching a great video by, I tell you what, Rick Rule, if you can find him on YouTube, he does a lot of interviews and stuff, and the guy is just brilliant. I mean, you just watch him and you go like, damn, I wish I had been born with that brain. And he's a very successful precious metals, or I should say natural resource investor. And Sprott Money, you might want to look into them for investment opportunities, especially, well, they still have they have the uranium ETF, or it might be a mutual fund, and then you've got their silver ETF, but they're fully resourced. Unlike the paper like SLV and GLD, stay away from those ticker symbols. But anyway, he says that as a world, we are massively underinvested in natural resources, and that we are experiencing or will in the next year or two, and are now, as a matter of fact. I mean, when you think about it, we're experiencing broad shortages. And so I always like to put a little personal note in on my videos. So the pest control guy came at about 10 o'clock this morning, and he was working around the house, and, I always try to be nice to these guys. I offer them a pop, and, maybe I'll just throw something out, because I like to talk to people and see if they have an opinion on anything. I felt bad for him, man. I felt bad for him. He's got a financial advisor, and I'm going to give you what Rick Rule said about that, because I think a lot of you probably have a financial advisor, and you're just trusting in them. They're on the old business model. I mean, they're going to lose all your money. So he said that, I don't know how much he has for retirement. I can't imagine that if you're just out doing pest control, he has a whole lot. But he said he lost $40,000 last year out of his retirement funds. And of course, the question that I would have asked would be like, well, maybe better get a new financial advisor. I mean, if they've lost $40,000 in 1 year, and we're going to take bigger hits this year. So I just kind of gave him some advice. I said, well, you know what? You need to start taking charge of your own finances and look at where your retirement advisor's going, and think about some contrarian things. I told him, I've only made $5,000 on my new investments. since July. So, that's not that much, but I certainly didn't lose $40,000. Holy shit. All right, so anyway, so Rick Rule, he agrees with me. Take control of your own finances. And then I thought this was a profound statement by him. This was pretty cool. He says, people express their will through governments rather than the markets. And I would add to that free markets. And that's how you really should express your will. I mean, your government is not going to take care of you. The government's going to do everything they can to rob you. Okay, so you need to express your will through free markets, and that's what I'm talking about. Take control of your own finances, all right? And then, and of course, Rick Rule, like me, is very anti-war. He didn't say specifically that he was against the Ukraine war, like I will tell you that I am, for reasons that I've expressed. So he says, war is the ultimate form of coercion. So when your government doesn't have its way, or when the NATO doesn't have its way, they went to war with Russia because they can't stand the fact that Russia is de-dollarizing the entire world. So their financial system is in peril. So that's the reason for this war, in my opinion. So I'm anti-war. Of course, that's another reason I don't like Democrats, because Democrats are warmongers. They're all for war, baby. I mean, any Democrat you talk to, they're all for the Ukraine war. They are warmongering. Much so, more so than the Republicans. I mean, you do have the neocon Republicans like Lindsey Graham. I don't like that guy. Let's just put it that way. I don't want to get sued for anything. So, and then he goes on to say, and I agree with this. He says, "I'm pro-market." That's me, free market enterprise. So one of the things that Rick Rule pointed out, and I always try to give you opportunities in my videos, is that investing in the large mining companies it's a good way to go. He said right now it's neutral. He doesn't like it unless you just don't have any money in the mining industry. And so then he said, maybe it's time to buy a stock like Newmont Mining or Barrick's Gold. But I was going to say, in my opinion, you should buy GDX. That is an ETF that invests in the bigger mining companies. Now, are you going to make a fortune? No. Are you going to lose a fortune? I don't think so. I mean, so it's a good neutral position. This is not financial advice. I'm just telling you what I do. I've got a stake in GDX, okay? So, and then if you want to speculate in some of the smaller miners, like I've been giving you the ticker symbols for in previous videos, Rick Rule pointed out something I didn't really think about it, and I just, sometimes I do the right thing for the wrong reasons. So what I do is I always put a limit buy on, let's say, Dolly Mining. That's a ticker symbol. I can't give you the ticker symbol, but that's a recommendation on a newsletter that I get. I'm already invested in them. I think I can't remember the ticker symbol, DOLLEY or DOLLY. Anyway, but anyway, he was pointing out that especially in these junior miners that they might experience a 15% drop because of their margin position. I didn't really think about that. So when you say not their margin position, but other investors' margin position. So sometimes, with a market drop or something happens, a big fish might have to sell off. And when you're talking about a junior miner, I mean, when there's a sell-off, it's not because the company's doing badly or they've done anything wrong. It's just because they had to sell it off. And so you might be able to pick up a good junior miner, or even the bigger miners. I always put limit buys on everything at a sell-off, and it's not a sell-off because now it could be. I mean, obviously it could be. They did something wrong, but most of the time I've seen these sell-offs, and there's no logical reason, and I hadn't really thought about what he was pointing out. He was saying, the uranium. I've talked about that in the past. I believe the ticker symbol is UEX or UROY. UEX. Do your own due diligence. Don't just buy into these. But I didn't think about there's always, you always learn something every day. There's always a different angle to look at things. And I didn't realize that Japan had those tidal waves, or what do you call them? It's not tidal wave. I want to say tsunamis, I guess. Anyway, the big waves that came in and just destroyed their uranium industry. And but Japan, they went, so the whole country just no more. We're not going to do nuclear power plants no more. Well, now it's about 65% of Japan wants nuclear power, so they're doing a huge program to restart their reactors. Well, that's going to put a huge demand on uranium. So different slant, right? I hadn't thought about that angle. Now, the whole world, I mean, the United States is getting more into nuclear power plants. Europe is investing in nuclear power plants. So there's going to be a huge demand for uranium as far as I can tell. I always got to cover the Ukraine war just because, I don't know, I just want to know what's going on. So let's get into that. I see the thing is, I mean, if Ukraine would post videos, or NATO would post videos, or the UK or the United States, I wouldn't give you everything from the Russian perspective. But all I can find are videos that the Russians post. So anyway, there was a video, man. This new Tornado G multi-rocket launch system. They posted a video today, and they were showing. This thing is devastating. And they were saying that they're killing Ukrainians at a much faster pace now, at least that's their propaganda. So here are the specs on this thing. Holy moly. 40 rockets can fire within 20 seconds. So if you do have an air defense system, 40 rockets coming in within 20 seconds, assuming they're all hitting the same target. Now, I don't know if they can, I don't think they can aim these rockets at different positions. Maybe they can, but it didn't look like it because, the units just posted. And then, if you're firing them all in the same direction. So anyway, so whatever they're hitting with these, it's going to wipe it out. And then what they showed was the firing crew. This blew my mind, man. They were able to reload this thing in 3 minutes and fire again. So now if you wanted to hit the target rather than with 40 rockets, you can hit it with 80 rockets. Oh my goodness gracious. The other video that Russia posted today, which, they're just trying to brag about their weapons. They want to show NATO, they want to show our politicians, they want to show the world that they got the hardware, baby. They got the hardware. And so they got this new, well, I shouldn't say new. It's probably been around, but I hadn't seen it before. It's called the great-granddaughter of Katyushka rocket launcher. And they say that they are devastating Ukrainian soldiers with these weapons, and I can believe it. I mean, can you imagine the firepower coming in on them? And they showed them video. This was today. They showed the video. Now, they might have taken the video a day ago or a week ago. I don't know, but man, I wouldn't be on the I wouldn't want to be there on the receiving end of these weapons. So they also released new footage of a Southern MD Giant-Sint, Giantsint, Giant-Sint S artillery crews showing, and they actually showed video on the, because I guess they had a drone in the air. It was, you're watching it, and people are dying. And I showed the Russians destroying the Ukraine hardware. And Trump's, with them using these 152 millimeter Giant-Sint S guns. That was rough to watch. I didn't want to see those rounds coming in on the Ukraine hardware, and it just destroyed it. Anybody that was in those troop vehicles, they were definitely dead. So, all right. So with all of that, I got a report. I was thinking, good Lord, I need to report from Lieutenant General Ligor on the latest numbers. And I'm going to say this is my statement. Ukraine is where NATO hardware and mercenaries go to die, because the Russians are saying that they're mostly up against mercenaries at this point. But that could be true, could be a lie. So anyway, we have the latest numbers that Russia claims that they have destroyed. According to Lieutenant General Igor of Russian television, 377 airplanes, 204 helicopters, 2,948 unmanned aerial vehicles. By the way, your tax dollars are paying for all of this. So 402 air defense missile systems. How many of those are HIMARS? I imagine a few. We got 7,627 tanks and other armored vehicles destroyed, 988 multiple rocket launchers, 3,906 field artillery cannons and mortars, and 8,171 special military motor vehicles, and that's as of January 25th. January 25th, 2023. By the way, another thing that Russia's doing, I tell you what, they are just throwing it out there in the face of NATO. They're having a huge event in Russia, I want to say within a week. And they're going to display all the NATO hardware that they've captured in a huge event, like, going to a gun show, or maybe you go to the golf show, right? They're going to have a big auditorium with all the NATO equipment that they've captured, and they want to show all the people of Russia what NATO equipment looks like. Should be very interesting. Maybe, I'm sure they'll post some footage up of that, and I'll tell you about that event. The last thing I wanted to finish with, and this, I just thought this was just informative, because I was watching another video on Governor DeSantis, and he was giving a speech about law and order, how we are a law and order state. By the way, another tidbit, I tell you what, you learn something every single day. Now, I didn't understand why New York City has deteriorated into the hellhole that it has. And according to Brian Kilmeade on Fox News, whether you like him or hate him, he's a big Ukraine warmonger. So I'm definitely against that view. So don't think that I take everything he says believe it. But anyway, he was pointing out, he says that the mayor of New York is really trying to get control of the crime situation, but he can't. He says because it's the people in Albany, New York, are voting down, it's the bail laws. They have, those bail laws where they just come in and it's an ever rotating. So if they arrest somebody, they're right back out on the streets. And of course, they've got those new laws out of the state. So it's actually the state government that is destroying New York. And that's nothing, of course, the people of New York play a big portion of what's elected into their state government. But anyway, so that was interesting. I thought that he, like de Blasio, was the huge problem for New York City, and maybe not. Maybe it's the state government, and that's where that came from. Just a little bit of history here for you, just because I was looking at the speech by DeSantis, and that's where I was going with this. And so I looked at the Florida flag. Now, how many times have you looked at your state flag? I always tell you, I always finish my videos, it's good to live in the free, and I said, damn, I haven't even looked at the flag that much. It's always in the background. You think of the U.S. flag. So it says on the flag, the Great Seal of the State of Florida, in God we trust. In God we trust. I tell you what, that makes me happy to live in Florida. I can't believe that's on our state flag. I just thought that was cool. And then, of course, on the flag, it has the cross of Virgande, which is actually was more or less a Spanish symbol. The cross, of course, it looked different on this, Spanish flag way back. And we actually adopted the flag here in Florida in 1985. So I just thought that was an interesting little flag. In God We Trust is on our flag. I think that's wonderful, because I don't think many people trust in God no more. All right, so peace out, stay free. If I come across anything else I think you need to know, I'll try to help you out. It's good to live in the free state of Florida under the great leadership of Governor DeSanctimonious.